Some days I honestly feel like I'm suffering from a Marvel hangover. I forget what phase we're in, what characters' names are, who's dead and who's not, what powers people have, and even how many episodes a Disney Plus season has. I haven't watched a Disney Plus show in its entirety for over a year, and honestly, with the way things are going and the way it seems as if each new Marvel actor has something of a hive mind towards things like the environment, or gender rights, or minority groups, or the wage gap, or updating their stories for modern audiences, it really doesn't seem as if I'm missing out on much. I keep up with enough to know what's going on, but the idea of watching Marvel properties now doesn't fill me with nearly as much excitement as it used to prior to Endgame. Maybe that's because so many of my favorite characters have made exits from the MCU. Maybe it's because the ones that have stuck around have been turned into cartoon cutouts of themselves in order to prop up characters that aren't nearly as good. Maybe it's because it feels like the MCU is just spinning its tires aimlessly, with no more direction now that the Infinity Saga rocket has been launched and ended. Or maybe it's because the characters that have been introduced don't have nearly as much charm as the originals and don't really care to entertain the fans like RDJ and Chris Evans and Scar Joe and all the rest of them did. I fervently believe it's all of these things that have led to declining viewing numbers, lost box office revenue, and general apathy towards superheroes in general. Are we tired? Maybe a bit. Do we really not care about characters like Riri Williams and She-Hulk and Miss Marvel and Lady Loki and whoever Emilia Clarke is playing in Secret Invasion? Sure. Do we just not care about where the MCU is going now because nothing that comes after can ever compare to what came before? Also true, I think. But I think the biggest reason, and the one that celebrities are either refusing to acknowledge or else claim that it's a good thing, is the general attitude that has accompanied the superhero universe since 2019. And for that, I unfortunately have to place some responsibility at the feet of Brie Larson. Is she an Oscar winner? Yeah. Do I care? No. None of her accolades or activism have really endeared her to me as a person or made her someone that I want to watch in movies and shows. And why is that? Well, her achievements have kind of been canceled out by her attitude. There's not a doubt in my mind that if the character was more accepted by fans, that the Marvels would have a chance at the box office. But since the movie is being spearheaded by an actress who, for the last few years, has done nothing else but put her holier-than-thou, please kneel before me, everybody be quiet and listen to me, why are you asking me those questions, I am better than you attitude, on full display, well, you can't really expect people to want to pay attention to what she has to say. Whether it's being in competition with her male co-stars or playing up the role of victim despite claiming that she's the strongest Avenger, Brie Larson hasn't really done much to fit the MCU mold and ingratiate herself with the fans. She's arrogant without being charming like RDJ. None of the expressions or emotions that she puts on full display feel genuine at all. And if the audience can tell that you are not a genuine person, especially in a superhero role like Captain Marvel, well then I'm sorry, but no one's going to like you, and no one's going to watch your superhero movies. The fact that you have two other C-list characters like Miss Marvel and Photon, for God's sake, who named this woman, is not exactly helping her cause. It has nothing to do with women hating or being a misogynist or disliking women in leading roles. Has everyone forgotten about Scar Joe and Elizabeth Olsen and Zoe Saldana and Colby Smulders? Those women are awesome. The first three of them are arguably my favorite female characters in the MCU, even in spite of the recent treatment that the movies and shows have done to their characters. And maybe it's because all of them seem to possess skills of introspection. They'll either think about the things that they say before the words come out of their mouths, Elizabeth Olsen especially.
I think it's very dangerous to think, oh, something just happened in the world. I am an entitled person whose voice must be heard on this issue. And I just think that is such a narcissistic viewpoint that we're all a part of. Like, it made us all like live in this weird narcissistic cycle.
Maybe that's because of who her sisters are. But regardless, she seems to have a modicum of self-awareness. Not to mention that when her character first started out, she was well-rounded, wholesome, and real, and everyone loved her because of it. She isn't a chore to listen to in interviews, and the stuff that she says is refreshing rather than cringy. But more than just being cringy, Brie has this attitude of general disgust that seems to pertain to everything in her vicinity, whether it's her male co-stars, or the questions that are asked of her, or her perception of the world or issues she wants to talk about that she feels need fixing. She addresses almost everyone and everything around her with the same expression and attitude that a person would have addressing roadkill in their path. Her supporters, the ultra-feminists, don't really help either when they take to Twitter and Reddit and the YouTube comments section telling other people what they can and can't say and do about Brie. And yet the hypocrisy is plain, because not only does Brie have the right to do those things and say whatever she wants about Marvel fans, about, oddly enough, white dudes, about the general populace, about the entertainment industry, about politics, about the government, about the state of gender equality, and no one can say a darned thing. This becomes especially annoying when the fans, longtime comic book or movie or otherwise, are told that they cannot say anything about the current direction of the MCU, but also that they don't have the right to say anything. And when they do, because they are fans, they are told that these movies aren't made for them and they need to shut up. Yes, Brie isn't the only celebrity doing this, but she was the first in the Marvel Universe to be off-putting to the fans because of the disgust that she displayed at life in general and the narcissism towards fans and her character in particular. And my question is, why? What gave her the right or even the idea to believe that acting like this is okay and acceptable? Truthfully, I don't think she believes it at all. Brie Larson almost seems to be playing a character while she's doing interviews and giving speeches and posting YouTube videos about who she is and what she does. I don't think she believes her own rhetoric at all, but she does believe that it will sell because every other celebrity these days is buying into this narcissistic, preachy nonsense because it's popular.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And popularity has always been the god of Hollywood. And I think Brie Larson is just self-aware enough to realize that popularity does not last forever. And if she wants to have real staying power, not only does she need to have the biggest roles, but she needs to have a personality that renders her unforgettable to people. She needs to become a household name at any cost. And for the longest time, the MCU had a reputation where stars went to get even bigger in their careers. She must have believed that her headlining as Captain Marvel would be a slam dunk. And yet all it's done is set her back with fans and give her a sophomore movie that looks like it's set to operate at a loss. Of course, Brie can't be blamed for everyone and everything. The presence of two other characters that no one else really cares about, and a movie that costs far too much to make, along with constant reshoots, cringy dialogue, and CGI that is not worth the cost of admission, are more than enough to turn people off. And yet Brie did start it all.
Am I saying that I hate white dudes? No, I'm not.
I refuse to believe that everything she has said and done is all from the prompting of her handlers and PR team. I don't think she's that much of a soulless robot that she can't think for herself. And yet it's the self-congratulatory air that, in my opinion, turns others off completely. There are plenty of Oscar winners who have demonstrated a ton of humility about their accomplishments and have not used it as a green light to lambaste the fans and spew their narcissism around like it's confetti. In light of all that, it's a bit laughable why she doesn't seem to understand why she isn't well received by the general moviegoer. In order to create good art, the amount of dedication and perspiration needed is astronomical. A lot of celebrities that have been a part of the MCU since the beginning have poured a certain level of their soul into the character, making them memorable enough that they remain household names for years to come. And yet Brie doesn't seem to get that. She and every other activist actress are running on a form of resentment that I don't fully understand, and I'm not sure that I ever will. But I am becoming more sure that after this movie, the days of seeing Brie Larson in a Captain Marvel costume will be coming to an end. Because one thing that Brie Larson seems to be is an opportunist. And unless they turn themselves around, and fast, any opportunities that Marvel has created for their actors are going to die out and not come back. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Brie Larson and the Marvels down in the comments section. Are you going to see the movie? Until next time, everyone.